No way this actually happened. This game between the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers was an absolute masterpiece in which we saw Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown absolutely go off for this Celtics team alongside some other players, including Derrick White hitting some big clutch shots. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough as the Celtics 25-3 run to start off the game was not enough, and they ultimately fall to the Cleveland Cavaliers after the Cavs had some second half comebacks. So we'll be diving in, looking at everything that went wrong with this Boston Celtics team, and ultimately analyzing why it's not that big of a deal and why there's no need to overreact with this loss to Cleveland. We'll be getting into all of that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Velez, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic showing your love and support on the channel over the last couple of weeks, which has been super, super appreciative. Once again, we come daily with these types of videos going over post games, breaking down everything Boston Celtics related. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date on everything, make sure to hit the subscribe button as this is the place for you. Without further ado, let's dive in and let's get into it. Let's break this game down and really dissect it as a whole. As unfortunately, like I mentioned, the Boston Celtics did come up short after fantastic start to this game in which it looked like it was going to be an onslaught in which the Celtics were going to have, a potential 30-point victory was wiped away right in front of our eyes as we see the Boston Celtics lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers 123 to 116. And the Celtics and Cavs had some great matchups over this season. In the matchups, they have had some injuries, and the Celtics, once again, were shorthanded in tonight's contest. As you can see by looking at the starting lineup, there was no Kristaps Porziņģis and no Jrue Holiday. So the Celtics were without two starters and two very valuable starters for that matter. As obviously going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, if we look at their roster, they have a lot of bigs and Darius and Jared Allen and obviously Evan Mobley. So having a guy like Kristaps Porzingis combat against those guys and being able to run the double big lineup with Al Horford would have been a little bit more beneficial for the Boston Celtics, something that they couldn't really run tonight. And also having a player like Jrue Holiday, a defensive guard to guard up against some of these other talented players like Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, the key offensive initiators for this Cleveland Cavaliers team would have also been beneficial for the Boston Celtics. But obviously, those little excuses can be wiped away when you look at how great the Celtics team ultimately did play. I do want to give some credit to Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown as they were absolutely fantastic. Jayson Tatum had 30 points, 9 assists, I believe, and 9 rebounds, excuse me, and 7 assists at halftime. Finished off the game with 46 points, 9 assists, and 16 rebounds, 4 for 12 from 3 point range, 19 from 37 from the field. Jayson Tatum was basically getting any basket that he wanted for this Celtics team. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. He was able to drive to the rack, was able to hit some mid ranges for the Celtics team, was hitting step back threes off the glass. Everything that Jayson Tatum wanted to do in tonight's contest was falling. Jaylen Brown, on the other hand, as well, was also getting going for the Boston Celtics as well. He contributed a very solid game here for the Boston Celtics. A 37-point night for Jaylen Brown, where he posted 2 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 for 6 from the field, and 13 for 24 from the field as well. Now, Jaylen did have some more fouls. Well, Jason and Jaylen both had, 4 fouls each, but Jaylen Brown did get in some early foul trouble, which allowed the Celtics to not really play through him. But Jaylen Brown later on in the game was able to attack at the rack and get the Celtics into the rhythm really early on. Not to mention that Jaylen Brown was the first one to start hitting those threes for the Celtics to really start the onslaught to get the game going. Derrick White was also clutch for the Boston Celtics as well, posting up a 5 for 12 shooting from the night, 4 for 10 from 3 point range, 5 assists for him, 1 rebound, 3 steals, which were very effective early on in the game for the Boston Celtics, and specifically with no Jrue Holiday as well. For the Celtics on the bench, though, we didn't really get to see the greatest performance from some of the people that we'd like to see. Luke Cornett and Peyton Pritchard are obviously retrospectively at a -26 and -36, which was clearly shown on the defensive side here. Luke Cornett was able to kind of get some rebounds, but the Celtics definitely needed the extra helps from the bigs, and lacking Kristaps Porziņģis was key in this game because the Cleveland Cavaliers were able to get back in this game due to the fact that they were able to score with contact and kind of get into the Celtics, obviously in the paint, and also were able to get those rebounds over the Boston Celtics. The Celtics struggled late to get those rebounds, struggled to find the basketball in the basket in the second half, comparative to where the Cleveland Cavaliers were able to wake up in the second half and able to do the exact opposite. Like I mentioned as well when looking at the starting lineup, Sam Hauser unfortunately was getting targeted on defense, similar to how the Boston Celtics run their killer whale offense when they were targeting guys like Darius Garland in this game earlier on, even guys like Evan Mobley at some points. Sam Hauser was the recipient for the Boston Celtics in getting targeted tonight off defensively, and guys like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland were able to eat him alive. But like I said, not to mention for the bad parts for this game. The good parts and the shining moments were Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown absolutely balling out, and you got to give both of those guys their flowers. Jayson Tatum was fantastic in tonight's contest, really controlling the pace for the Boston Celtics, being that initiator and also being that defensive leader as well. Unfortunately for Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics, he didn't get any late game touches towards the last, I believe, 4 or 5 minutes in the last game. Jayson Tatum didn't get a shot until like the last 30 seconds, which is not something that the Boston Celtics want to be doing. And it's kind of the team basketball oriented way that the Celtics have been running, which does work in some aspects in some games, you know what I mean? But in a game where obviously Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are your two main focal point scorers and the guys that are finding the basket in the hole, you need to go through them and utilize them as the whoever offense. Not saying that it needs to be every single game, but in a game where the Cavaliers are doing it retrospectively, running with Donovan Mitchell, where he is absolutely going off for you for 40 points and taking every single basket late game and absolutely drilling it. You need the same reciprocation with the Boston Celtics with Jayson Tatum doing the same thing. And unfortunately, that was not shown. Like I said, I would have liked to see Luke Cornett in the end a little bit as well. I know that he wasn't great defensively, but he was doing some stuff, getting some rebounds, and I think the Celtics definitely needed some more aggressive rebounding help, maybe staying away from Sam, potentially going into Luke, or possibly even looking at Torrey Craig for that moment. But ultimately, I don't know if Torrey Craig would have been able to be that much of a viable extra help just because of the fact if Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown can't realistically stick to guys like Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, who's to say that Torrey Craig is going to be able to do the same thing as well? Now, obviously, the Celtics didn't really utilize Craig this game. They only gave him what, 3 minutes tonight. So potentially giving him some more a bigger leash could have been a little bit better for an experience. But unfortunately for the Celtics, they lose this game. Like I said, not anything to overreact with, nothing to freak out over with this Celtics team. We all know the Cleveland Cavaliers is a solid squad, and the Celtics were without two of their starters once again in Kristaps Porziņģis and Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday is going to help stopping those offensive juggernauts. Kristaps Porziņģis is also going to help with getting rebounds and being a paint beast alongside these other bigs that Cleveland has, as they obviously have the double big with Mobley and Allen, and obviously the Boston Celtics not having Kristaps Porziņģis was clearly a big issue in this type of matchup where they definitely need the size, and we're lacking it in tonight's game. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comment section. Like I said, I don't think it's that big of a deal. The Celtics are going to be at that 2 seed, I believe, in the Eastern Conference. They will play the Cavaliers, and the Cavaliers are going to bring a very, very competitive playoff series. This Cavaliers team is definitely not one to write off. I do believe that when the Celtics do match up against them, we will see a good series going 6 to 7 games. I still feel confident that if healthy, the Celtics will be able to pull it off. But I'd love to see these teams play when they're both healthy, because we failed to see that this season as guys on the Cavaliers have been out when the Celtics play, and obviously tonight with no Jrue and Kristaps, the Celtics were shorthanded. So let me know what you think down below in the comment section. I think this Cavaliers team is a perfect match for the Celtics, and I think it's going to be a great time if they do match up in the finals, or in the Eastern Conference Finals, excuse me, come in later on in the season. But let me know what you think down below in the comment section, how you guys ultimately feel about this Celtics team, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your night, and go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.